I truly believe that's what we're here on this planet to do, to learn. That is the purpose of life and nothing else. We are here to learn who we are. We are here to learn how to be our most authentic self in a world that tells us we shouldn't every minute of every single day. We are here to learn how to fully love ourselves so we can walk in this world fully loving others. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Heal That Shit. I'm your host, Elisa Noel Beathy. My mission is to inspire you to heal that shit so you can remove the barriers to your own success and begin living your most authentic life. I hope the creation of this podcast becomes a helpful tool for others, reaches all of the people who can benefit from the things I've learned in my journey of self-discovery, and from the guests who will be joining me to share their stories, lessons, and insights as well. With that said, I should probably start sharing a little bit about myself. Who am I? That is such a weird question, and the more I think about it, it's one I couldn't even answer a handful of years ago, when I found myself single and dating again at 40. Describing myself in a dating profile was hard enough, but then having conversations over and over again where people are asking, what do you like to do for fun? What are your hobbies? What kind of music do you listen to? I had no fucking clue. And the more I tried to describe who I was, the more I realized I didn't know who I was. I've been on this crazy journey the last few years of really trying to figure that out. And it's probably going to be a podcast for another day. But I realized that truly knowing who you are isn't a destination. It's a process. Who I am today might not be who I am a week from now, or a year from now, or 10 years from now. And that doesn't mean who I am right in this moment isn't authentic. I've done the work to know it is. But I also know that as I learn and grow and evolve and have new experiences, that who I am will change over time. So it really doesn't matter what I tell you today. I definitely know who I am right now, and it isn't something that you're going to understand by me listing off a bunch of qualities that I think you'll connect with. But I can give you a few. I'm a Gen X single mom of 2. I'm a California girl living in the Midwest. I've been in Minnesota for the past 10 years, and aside from the brutally long winters, I do love it here. I'm a recovering people pleaser and codependent who has learned how to put her needs first and set boundaries with others, which has resulted in a much more balanced and joyful life for me. I am an introvert. I am an empath. I am a Cancer Sun, Leo Moon with a Libra rising. I am an Enneagram 2. I am a free spirit who has been kept in a box the past 44 years and is just now learning how to live life freely and create the life I truly desire. But just know this isn't everything that embodies who I am as a person. You're just going to have to figure that out and decide for yourself as we go. To be here today, hosting a podcast, is crazy to me. Never in a million years would I have thought this would be in my future. But here I am. Anyone that's known me for decades would know that I'm an introvert and grew up a very shy person. And up until recently, that was very much a part of my identity. Lots of things were. It wasn't until the past 4 years that I've really tried to break down and understand who I am. Not just who other people have told me I am, not just the identity that I've accepted from childhood and the past 44 years of being on this planet, but who I am at my core, regardless of those things. What finally catapulted that search was the end of my relationship with my kid's dad. We were together for 12 years, engaged for 10 of those, but never married. And I will say the last 4 years of being single and dating, I've almost had to defend that. Because not being married was absolutely not a reflection of our love, devotion, and commitment to each other. We probably had more of that than most people with a piece of paper. What we had was real and genuine. But one thing I've learned And you'll probably hear me use that phrase a million times during this podcast, so get used to it. One thing I've learned is that not every relationship is going to turn out as expected or how you'd hoped. And even when it doesn't mean that what you had wasn't real or genuine. It just means that the lessons you were supposed to learn from it are done. I truly believe that's what we're here on this planet to do, to learn. That is the purpose of life and nothing else. We are here to learn who we are. We are here to learn how to be our most authentic self in a world that tells us we shouldn't every minute of every single day. We are here to learn how to fully love ourselves so we can walk in this world fully loving others. And in the past 4 years, I have become acutely aware that every person that crosses our path and stays for more than just a fleeting moment is here to show us something or teach us something about ourselves, about our beliefs, to give us experiences that expand our minds, questioning things we've never questioned before. Or it's because our purpose in their life is to do that for them. Once I started walking this world with that mindset and awareness, it opened up so many opportunities for growth, connection, and love. That has been my journey. Some might call it a midlife crisis, but I call it my spiritual awakening. When that relationship ended, I did not have this awareness or mindset. That experience was extremely painful, absolutely devastating, and soul-crushing all at the same time. My entire life felt like it had imploded, and I was left, standing alone in the ruins, trying to make sense of it all. Over the next few years, I slowly sifted through the remains, almost like going through what's left after a house fire, carefully examining what was destroyed, and then deciding very intentionally if it was worth cleaning up and keeping or letting go of completely. I did this with relationships. I did this with my beliefs and mindsets. I did this with belongings. Sometimes it was a physical item, a photograph, an article of clothing, a ring that no longer belonged in my home or in places where it could be seen every day. Sometimes it was a person, a relationship that needed to go because it had become toxic or simply outgrown its season. A lot of times it was beliefs or values about the world, about relationships, or about myself. Things I had come to realize no longer served me or my well-being and needed to be released. One of my favorite quotes that really resonated with me throughout this process was from Tyler Durden in Fight Club, who said, "It is only when you've lost everything that you're free to do anything." I'd probably watched that movie 100 times before I was in a place where that made any sense to me. And it was absolutely true. I lost everything from the most significant relationship I've ever had in my life to members of my family. I left behind a job during that time, which contributed to part of my identity. It was the one place I felt like I was successful and capable and competent. And I chose to leave because I thought I needed to make more money as I transitioned into becoming a single mom. Spoiler alert, that fear-based decision cost me dearly. I don't know that I necessarily lost friendships at that moment, but that process had taken place over the previous years of life, as the struggles in my relationship and family had become so overwhelming that all I could do was maintain work, kids, home, and nothing else. I had started isolating when things got bad. It wasn't intentional, but the result of a coping skill I had learned as a child and as an athlete. Sometimes things are hard, and you just have to put your head down and grind. You push through the pain, just keep your eye on the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what I did. And when it was all said and done, I'd realized I'd put my head down for 2 straight years without looking up. And when I finally did, there wasn't a light anymore. When that day came, and I finally lifted my head and looked around, I realized there was no one because I had stopped investing in my connections. I hadn't maintained my friendships because I didn't have any energy left to do so. Looking back now, I realize I was given a gift. The gift of a fresh start. The gift of a clear new vision. I was given the gift of so many heavy weights being lifted from my back. I was given the gift of time to rest after so many years of burning myself to nothing every single day. I was given the gift of new experiences. I was given the gift of new lessons that I needed to learn in life, as well as the gift of opportunity to practice those skills. And let me tell you, some of those gifts were very painful experiences. But looking back now, I wouldn't change any of it because it brought me to where I am today, exactly where I'm meant to be. If you're someone who's in the midst of that chaos of an ending, or in the middle of those first lessons as you transition into a new life, I promise you this: things will get better. Be patient, trust the process, and know that all of it is a part of your journey. The reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I wanted to be able to share all of the things I've had to learn the hard way over the last several years with others who may be in a similar situation and looking for answers, or just wanting to know that they're not alone. 4 years ago, the final straw came that caused my world to come tumbling down. And for the first time in years, this independent woman, capable of doing anything on her own, realized she was in too far over her head. I was at the bottom of a hole and I couldn't crawl my way out. Because I had isolated myself, putting my head down and grinding through each day in survival mode for years, when I looked around at the end, there was no one I could reach out to. At least that was my mindset in the midst of crisis. The reality was, I knew I had friends. I know there were people I could have called. But I'd also spent the previous 6 months sending my best friend a voicemail because I was too overwhelmed to have a conversation with anyone about anything. I had friends who I'd been avoiding because I didn't have the capacity to offer anything to those people. So when that moment came, I was ashamed to reach out. I was embarrassed that I'd gotten myself to that place, and I didn't feel like I had the right to call anyone that I'd been avoiding and dump all of my problems on them. So in a moment of desperation, I got on Facebook and just posted something vague. Someone please check on me. I'm not okay. And please don't be upset if I don't respond. I knew a couple of people would see that and call me, my best friend for sure being one of them, and she did. But I had no idea how many other people would see that and respond. I had no idea that I had that many people in my life that gave a shit about me. Some of them were very surprising. Someone I hadn't talked to in 20 years offered to get on a plane to come see me if that's what I needed. Friends from every phase of life reached out to talk to me. Friends from middle school, old coworkers, ex-boyfriends, people I had only ever considered acquaintances. It was incredibly humbling and overwhelming in the most beautiful way. Because I had that many people who were concerned about me after sharing something so vague, and me being in a place where I was mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted, I didn't have the energy to respond to everyone individually to tell them what was going on. So I took back to Facebook to give a brief update to anyone who was curious or concerned about what I was going through. As I continued to post updates on my life, I was met with a lot of support and feedback from people in my circle. And it also resulted in a handful of side conversations with others who were going through something similar in their lives. I can't tell you how grateful I was for those connections that emerged during that time, and how it wasn't only the close friends in my circle, but often acquaintances that I rarely kept in touch with on social media. A former coworker, a foster parent I used to support at a previous job, a college boyfriend I had barely spoken to in over a decade. Over the next several months, these 3 people became my lifeline. We talked every single day, several times a day, sharing our stories with each other, offering support and encouragement, and sharing successes as we worked through our struggles together. As time passed and we overcame the things in our lives that brought us together, we talked less frequently. Honestly, in the past year, I don't know that I've talked to any one of those people more than just in passing, but I will forever be grateful for the impact they had during that time of my life. That is what prompted me to start sharing more about myself and the things I was going through a little bit more publicly than this introvert would have chosen to in the past. That process was so incredibly healing for me. I continued to write and share about my journey, using that platform as almost free therapy for myself, just to get my jumbled thoughts into words and out of my body where I could make sense of them. During that process of putting myself out there, others would read what I shared and expressed how much something I said resonated with them. And then they would share their story with me, openly and vulnerably. It was just as often men as women who reached out to me, maybe even more, which was surprising to me at the time, but not so much now. I think women tend to be more comfortable sharing their feelings and processing them with each other. And I will say it 100 times over and over again. Men need that too. They need a safe place to be vulnerable, a place to share their struggles, and maybe even more so than we as women do, only because it's more acceptable for us to be open, emotional, feeling beings externally. Men need that outlet too, which might be a topic for another day. And I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity I have had to provide that for someone else. As the initial support group that emerged from my first round of vulnerability faded away, a new group of these people came into my life, and we'd walk our common journey together. We'd heal and learn, laugh and cry, and feel all of the emotions. Eventually, those connections would fade away as well, as we found ourselves in better places. And just like clockwork, as one connection would fade out, another one would pop in, because they read something I wrote and felt compelled to reach out to me and share their insight with me, what they were struggling with, and open their soul to me. I absolutely loved this so much. Not just because I appreciated the support I got from someone else when I so desperately needed it, but also because it gave me the opportunity to help someone. I was able to give to another person at a time in my life when I thought I had absolutely nothing to offer. It made me feel good to do that, to feel connected to another human in such a vulnerable way when I felt alone and isolated. To feel validated at a time in my life when I felt so misunderstood. I cannot tell you how amazing it was to feel that connection on such a deep level to so many beautiful souls after spending years feeling completely numb and alone. I craved that connection like a drug, and the universe kept giving me hit after hit after hit. I thought about this the other day and was almost kind of sad because it's been a while since I've had one of those kinds of interactions in my personal life. And maybe it's because I'm actually in a really good place now. I'm not having to share so much about my struggles and the hardships that I'm having, or the growing and healing that has been so prevalent in my life for the past 4 years. Or maybe it's a sign that I've graduated from that phase of my journey and it's time to move on to the next one. I hope that this new endeavor I'm taking on is going to be a part of that. I hope to take what I've learned and use it to serve, to be the light for another in their moments of darkness. My goal with this podcast is not only to be the light for others in their darkness, but also to share the things I've learned along the way during all of my moments of darkness. Some of these things include how to listen to my body and my intuition, how to set boundaries with others, how to put my needs first, which was probably the hardest lesson I've ever had to do in this process. How to be authentic, regardless of what others think of you or what you think of yourself. How to develop your own spirituality, because I really, truly believe it is a huge part of being human on this planet. Understanding that we are all connected, that there is a reason that we're here, and I personally believe that reason is to learn and grow and heal and love and figure out how to be the truest version of ourselves as possible. How to love other people with compassion and understanding, even if they aren't who we think they should be. How to be honest with yourself. How the things that trigger us in other people are mirrors to the work we need to do on ourselves. How to figure out and understand your purpose in this lifetime. What was your soul placed here to do? How to understand astrology and use those energies to work for you. How tarot can help enhance your intuition. And how to do the work to heal. These are all things I've learned over the last 4 years, and I am so excited to share those things with the world and have conversations with people to learn more about myself. I'm certainly not an expert at life, I will tell you that much, but I'm a great student, and hopefully, if you learn nothing else from your time with me, it is how to walk this world and see it through the eyes of wonder and possibility expansion and freedom, authenticity, love, and joy. So for those of you who have made it this far, thank you so much for listening and for joining me on this journey. And I hope you get something from the things that I have to offer. Let's heal that shit.